Dragon Age Origins was rated M for mature by the ESRB and contains blood, intense violence, language, partial nudity, and sexual content. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello everyone, my name is Amaronith and I play games for the internet, and today we're playing Dragon Age Origins bonus series, the Human Noble Origin. Last time we finally spoke with our brother Fergus and told him what our father wanted, and also had our date with Theirin that unfortunately ended with his death when the castle was attacked by Arl Howe's men.
Tell us! Get them! There they are! All right.
Darling, I heard fighting outside and I feared the worst. Are you hurt?
Those men killed Theirin!
What? Not Landra's son. But why? Her scream woke me up. There were men in the hall, so I barred the door. Did you see their shields? Those are Howe's men. Why would they attack us?
He's betrayed father. He attacks while our troops are gone.
You don't think Howe's men were delayed? On purpose? That bastard. I'll cut his lying throat myself. Have you seen your father? He never came to bed.
Maybe he stayed up with Arl Howe.
We must find him.
We should check on Oriana and Orin as well.
Andraste's mercy. What if the soldiers went into your brother's room first? Let's check on them quickly. Then we'll look for Bryce downstairs.
Alright. Let's give our mom a weapon. There you go. Sadly, she can't wear this either.
Going.
Perhaps we can salvage some things here, darling. Some of your father's belongings are in that trunk.
Right.
And I'm off.
Oh no.
No! My little Orin! What manner of fiend slaughters innocents?
Don't look, Mother.
Oh, I'll look. I'll remember this day when Howe dies, screaming like the dog he is. Oh, poor Fergus. Let's go, I don't want to see this.
Bastard.
Ha! Let's wipe them out quickly. And I'm off. Yes.
Hey, buddy. There you go. Thanks.
We must stop them!
All right.
Nah.
Going.
Oh,
Dear
Landra.
I'm so sorry. If she hadn't come to me, if she hadn't been here.
Mom.
We must go downstairs and find out what's happening.
Let's just take everything.
Can you hear the fighting? Howe's men must be everywhere.
Then we should take the fight to them.
Don't be foolish. You would throw your life away? The front gates. That's where your father must be.
What if father isn't there?
Listen, darling. We haven't much time. If we can't find your father, you must get out of here alive. Without you and Fergus, the entire Kusan line dies here. If Howe's men are inside, they must already control the castle. We must use the servant's entry in the larder to escape. Do you hear me?
I want Howe dead.
Then survive, and visit vengeance upon him.
Oh. Let's just rob this guy. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. But however, we need to avoid plot. We just came from there. I am very easily turned around in real life and in video games.
The castle has fallen! I'm getting out of here!
Don't be a coward. Stand and fight.
Yes, my lord! Here they come!
Going.
I'm not done with you.
Take that! Lost it. We'll have to go
All right. Yes. Right.
How about you?
Going. I'm back.
Okay. You know, I was always really curious why these folks have lyrium potions when none of them are Templars or mages,
All right.
and therefore have no need.
Yes.
Get him!
Now
This is for my own!
and I'm off.
Get out of my way!
Yes. And I'm off.
Yes, yes,
dare
hang
you.
on. Alright.
All right.
I will kill them all myself.
Going.
Wow, our mom's vicious, y'all.
He's done. We must stop them. Take that. We have won this battle, but we cannot waste more time.
Is there anyone else? Okay.
Aldous,
Oh.
you will be avenged, old sage. I swear it.
Damn. So we've rescued. It's not so much rescued as. Wait, hang on. Yeah. What's... Don't remember that being in there before.
We're getting close to the treasury. The Kuzlan family blade lies inside.
Yes.
Here, darling, take my key. That blade cannot fall into Howe's hands. It should sever his treacherous head.
And it will. Oh. Yoink. And yoink.
Huh.
And yoink. Let's just put that on.
Going.
Gang. Aim. Howler soldier. Alright. Yeah, one more double check. Yeah. Remember, kids, don't forget to loot the bodies of the people who served you on your way out.
Yes.
I do not fear death. I have nothing else to lose.
Yes.
Come and face me if you dare.
Whoops. I don't see the body of the priestess. So that's good? Question mark? Okay, that's on fire.
Yes. All right.
Take that.
Take. No. Yes, take all of his stuff.
All right. Let's wipe them out. All right. Yes. All right. All right.
Go, man the gate. Keep those bastards out as long as you can. Your ladyship, my lord, you're both alive. I was certain Howe's men had gotten through.
They did get through.
They killed Oriana and Oren. I can't believe. Are you injured?
Don't worry about me, your ladyship. Thank the Maker you two are unharmed. When I realized what was happening, it was all I could do to shut the gates. But they won't keep Howe's men out long. If you've another way out of the castle, use it quickly.
We need to find Father.
When I last saw the Terran, he'd been badly wounded. I urged him not to go, but he was determined to find you. He went towards the kitchen. I believe he thought to find you at the servants' exit in the larder.
Bless you, Sir Gilmore. Make her watch over you.
Make her watch over us all.
I should probably heal myself, huh? Seriously, it's so weird. I'm finding lyrium potions on everybody but the mages.
We must get out! They're slaughtering everyone!
Yes.
On fire, okay. Oh, I leveled up again.
Are you chip? Surely you're chip.
Come and face me if you dare!
We're under attack!
Fight for our
Going.
The dog leveled up. How?
All right.
Oh. Damn. Man.
Yes.
There, you both are. I was
Father.
Rise!
wondering when you would get here.
Maker's blood, what's happening? You're bleeding!
Al's men found me first. Almost did me in right there.
Why is Howe doing this?
He can't get away with this. The king will...
Bryce, we must get you out of here.
I won't survive the standing, I think.
Then we'll simply have to drag you out.
Only if you're willing to leave pieces of me behind, pup.
Bryce, this is no time for jokes! Once Howe's men break through the gate, they will find us. We must go.
Someone must reach Fergus. Tell him what has happened.
And take vengeance.
Yes. Vengeance.
Bryce, no. The servant's passage is right here. We can flee together, find you healing magic.
The castle is surrounded. I cannot make it.
I'm afraid the turn is correct. Howe's men have not yet discovered this exit, but they surround the castle. Getting past will be difficult.
You are Duncan, then? The Grey Warden?
Yes, your ladyship. The turn and I tried to reach you sooner.
My youngest son helped me get here. Make her be praised.
I am not surprised.
Can you do something about Howe?
Not here. There are too many men, and they seem as willing to kill me as they are all of you. Flight is the only option.
Whatever is to be done now, it must be quick. They are coming.
Duncan, you are under no obligation to me, but I beg you, take my wife and son to safety.
I will, your lordship, but I fear I must ask for something in return.
Anything.
What is happening here pales in comparison to the evil now loose in this world.
Is this really the
I
time?
came to your castle seeking a recruit. The Darkspawn threat demands that I leave with one.
I understand.
What about Sir Gilmore?
Truthfully, you were always my first choice. I will take the Tyrna and your son to Ostagar to tell Fergus and the king what happened. Then, your son joins the Grey Wardens.
So long as justice comes to Howe. I agree.
Then I offer you a place within the Grey Wardens. Fight with us.
But what if Fergus is dead?
We will inform the king, and he will punish Howe. I am sorry, but a Grey Warden's duties take precedence even over vengeance.
Howe thinks he'll use the chaos to advance himself. Make him wrong, pup. See that justice is done. Our family always does our duty first. The Darkspawn must be defeated. You must go. For your own sake and for Ferelden's.
I will, Father. For you.
We must leave quickly then.
Bryce, are you sure?
Our son will not die of Howe's treachery. He will live and make his mark on the world.
Darling, go with Duncan. You have a better chance to escape without me.
Eleanor.
Hush, Bryce. I'll kill every bastard that comes through that door to buy them time. But I won't abandon you.
I love you both. So much.
Then live, darling. Become a Grey Warden and do what is right.
I'm so sorry it's come to this, my love.
We had a good life and did all we could. It's up to our children now.
Then go, pup. Warn your brother. Know that we love you both. You do us proud.
They've broken through the gates. We must go now.
Goodbye, darling.
We will be traveling south through the hinterlands to the ruin of
And here we go
Ostagar,
again.
on the edges of the Korcari Wilds. The Tevinter Imperium built Ostagar long ago to prevent the Wilders from invading the northern lowlands. It's fitting we make our stand here, even if we face a different foe within that forest. The King's forces have clashed with the Darkspawn several times, but here is where the bulk of the Horde will show itself. There are only a few Grey Wardens within Ferelden at the moment, but all of us are here. This blight must be stopped, here and now. If it spreads to the north, Ferelden will fall.
Ho there, Duncan.
King Cailan, I didn't expect
A royal welcome? I was beginning to worry you'd miss all the fun.
Not if I could help it, Your Majesty.
Then I'll have the mighty Duncan at my side in battle after all. Glorious. The other wardens told me you'd found a promising recruit. I take it this is he?
But how do they know?
Allow me to introduce you, Your Majesty.
No need, Duncan. You are Bryce's youngest, are you not? I don't think we've ever actually met.
Yes, I am, and I bring important news.
Is it about your father? Your brother has been concerned about him.
He's not coming. He died when our castle was taken.
Dead? What do you mean? Duncan, do you know anything about this?
Terran Cousland and his wife are dead, Your Majesty. Arl Howe has shown himself a traitor and overtaken Highever Castle. Had we not escaped, he would have killed us and told you any story he wished.
I can scarcely believe it. Well, how could he think he could get away with such treachery? As soon as we are done here, I will turn my army north and bring Howe to justice. You have my word.
Thank you, Your Majesty.
No doubt you wish to see your brother. Unfortunately, he and his men are scouting in the wilds.
But he may be in danger.
We are all in danger, my friend. Nothing can be done until your brother returns, and that will not be until the battle is over. I apologize, but there's nothing more I can do. All I can suggest is that you vent your grief against the Darkspawn for the time being.
What would you know about my grief?
Your Majesty, I apologize.
Don't worry, Duncan. You must both be eager to reach your tents. Have you any news before I go?
Your uncle sends his greetings and reminds you that Redcliffe forces could be here in less than a week.
Ha! Eamon just wants in on the glory. We've won 3 battles against these monsters, and tomorrow should be no different.
I didn't realize things were going so well.
I'm not even sure this is a true blight. There are plenty of Darkspawn on the field, but alas, we've seen no sign of an Archdemon.
Disappointed, Your Majesty?
I'd hoped for a war like in the tales. A king riding with the fabled Grey Wardens against a tainted god. But I suppose this will have to do. I must go before Loghain sends out a search party. Farewell, Grey Wardens.
What the king said is true. They've won several battles against the Darkspawn here.
He didn't seem to take the Darkspawn very seriously.
True. Despite the victory so far, the Darkspawn horde grows larger with each passing day. By now, they look to outnumber us. I know there is an Archdemon behind this, but I cannot ask the king to act solely on my feeling.
Then maybe we should move quickly.
Yes, we should proceed with the ritual.
A hot meal might be nice first.
I agree. We have until nightfall to begin the ritual. Every recruit must go through a secret ritual we call the Joining in order to become a Grey Warden. The ritual is brief, but some preparation is required. We must begin soon.
I need to find Fergus.
You heard what the king said. He is scouting in the wilds and beyond contact. Be patient. He will return.
Am I the only recruit you have?
No, there are 2 other recruits here already. They have been waiting for us to arrive.
Why is this ritual so secret?
The joining is dangerous. I cannot speak more of it except to say that you will learn all in good time. Until then, you must trust that what is done is necessary.
What do you need me to do?
Feel free to explore the camp here as you wish. All I ask is that you do not leave it for the time being. There is another Grey Warden in the camp by the name of Alistair. When you're ready, seek him out and tell him it's time to summon the other recruits. Your hound can stay with me while I attend to some business. The Grey Warden tent is on the other side of this bridge. You will find us there should you need to.
He just kidnapped my dog. But that is all for the human noble origin. That's one of the sadder ones. But for now, we read the Codex Entries that we collected. Starting with Article 3, Archdemon. In darkness eternal they searched for those who had goaded them on, until at last they found their prize, their god, their betrayer, the sleeping dragon Dumont. Their taint twisted even the false god, and the whisperer awoke at last, in pain and horror, and led them to wreak havoc upon all the nations of the world. The first blight. Thernades, 8-7. The false dragon gods of the Tevinter Imperium lie buried deep within the earth, where they have been imprisoned since the Maker cast them down. No one knows what it is that drives the Darkspawn in their relentless search for the sleeping old gods. Perhaps it is instinct, as moths will fly into torch flames. Perhaps there is some remnant desire for vengeance upon the ones who goaded the Magisters to assault heaven. Whatever the reason, when the Darkspawn find these ancient dragons, it is immediately afflicted by the taint. It awakens, twisted and corrupted, and leads the Darkspawn in a full-scale invasion of the land. A blight. Article 17, Mabari War Hound. Dogs are an essential part of Ferelden culture, and no dog is more prized than the Mabari. The breed is as old as myth, and as old as myth, said to have been bred from the wolves who served Dane. Prized for their intelligence and loyalty, these dogs are more than mere weapons or status symbols. The hounds choose their masters and pair with them for life. To be the master of a Mabari anywhere in Ferelden is to be recognized instantly as a person of worth. The Mabari are an essential part of Ferelden military strategy. Trained hounds can easily pull knights from horseback or break lines of pikemen, and the sight and sound of a wave of war dogs howling and snarling has been known to cause panic among even the most hardened infantry soldiers. And Article 22. Rat. What are you, mad? Even the most giant of rats isn't going to present that much of a problem to anyone larger than a cat. Even the stories in the archives that tell of blight-touched rats still only attributed them with the ability to spread the plague. The rats themselves got no larger than perhaps 3 feet in length, covered in sharp bony spikes and boils. Disturbing, certainly, but dangerous? This is no fantasy conjured by madmen, young man. You have much more important creatures to concern yourself with. Transcript of a lecture given by Analia, senior enchanter of Hosberg, 844 Blessed. Note, she was later eaten by a blight rat in 846 Blessed. Article 62. Andraste, Bride of the Maker. There was once a tiny fishing village on the waking sea that was set upon by the Tevinter Imperium, which enslaved the villagers to be sold in the markets of Minrathous, leaving behind only the old and the infirm. One of the captives was the child Andraste. She was raised in slavery in a foreign land. She escaped then made the long and treacherous journey back to her homeland alone. She rose from nothing to be the wife of an Mabari warlord. Each day she sang to the gods, asking them to help her people, who remained slaves into winter. The false gods of the mountains and the winds did not answer her, but the true God did. The Maker spoke. He showed her all the works of his hands, the Fade, the world, and all the creatures therein. He showed her how men had forgotten him, lavishing devotion upon mute idols and demons, and how he had left them to their fate. But her voice had reached him, and so captivated him that he offered her a place at his side, that she might rule over all creation. That she might rule all of creation. But Andraste would not forsake her people. She begged the Maker to return to save his children from the cruelty of the Imperium. Reluctantly, the Maker agreed to give man another chance. Andraste went back to her husband Mafarath, and told him all that the Maker had revealed to her. Together they rallied the Alamari and marched forth against the mage lords of the Imperium, and the Maker was with them. The Maker's sword was creation itself. Fire and flood, famine and earthquake. Everywhere they went, Andraste sang to the people of the Maker, and they heard her. The ranks of Andraste's followers grew until there were a vast tide washing over the Imperium. And when Mafarath saw that the people loved Andraste and not him, a worm grew within his heart, gnawing upon it. At last the armies of Andraste and Mafarath stood before the very gates of Minrathous, but Andraste was not with them, for Mafarath had schemed in secret to hand Andraste over to the Tevinter. For this, the Archon would give Mafarath all the lands to the south of the Waking Sea. And so, before all the armies of the Alamari and of Tevinter, Andraste was tied to a stake and burned while her earthly husband turned his armies aside and did nothing, for his heart had been devoured. But as he watched the pyre, the Archon softened. He took pity on Andraste and drew his sword, and granted her the mercy of a quick death. The Maker wept for his beloved, cursed Mafarath, cursed mankind for their betrayal, and turned once again from creation, taking only Andraste with him, and Our Lady sits still at his side, where she still urges him to take pity on his children. From the Sermons of Justinia II. Article 67. The Commandments of the Maker. These truths that the Maker has revealed to me, as there is but one world, one life, one death, there is but one God, and he is our Maker. They are sinners who have given their love to false gods. Magic exists to serve man and never to rule over him. Foul and corrupt are they who have taken his gift and turned it against his children. They shall be named Maleficar, accursed ones. They shall find no rest in this world or beyond. All men are the works of our Maker's hands, from the lowest slaves to the highest kings. Those who bring harm without provocation to the least of his children are hated and accursed by the Maker. Those who bear false witness and work to deceive others know this: there is but one truth. All things are known to our Maker, and he shall judge their lies. All things in this world are finite. What one man gains, another has lost. Those who steal from their brothers and sisters do harm to their livelihood, and to their peace of mind. Our Maker sees this with a heavy heart. Transfigurations 1:1-5. Article 68. The Maker. There was no word for heaven or for earth, for sea or sky. All that existed was silence. Then the voice of the Maker rang out, the first word, and his word became all that might be. Dream and idea, hope and fear, endless possibilities, and from it he made his firstborn, and he said to them, "In my image I forge you, to you I give dominion over all that exists. By your will may all things be done." Then in the center of heaven he called forth a city with towers of gold, streets with music for cobblestones, and banners which flew without wind. There he dwelled, waiting to see the wonders his children would create. The children of the Maker gathered before his golden throne and sang hymns of praise unending, but their songs were the songs of the cobblestones. They shone with the golden light reflected from the Maker's throne. They held forth the banners that flew on their own. And the voice of the Maker shook the fade, saying, "In my image I have wrought, my firstborn, you have been given dominion over all that exists. By your will all things are done, yet you do nothing. The realm I have given you is formless, ever-changing." And he knew that he had wrought amiss. So the Maker turned from his firstborn and took from the Fade a measure of its living flesh, and placed it apart from the spirits, and spoke to it, saying, "Here I decree opposition in all things, for earth, sky, for winter, summer, for darkness, light. By my will alone is balance sundered, and the world given new life." And no longer was it formless, ever-changing, but held fast, immutable, with words for heaven and for earth, sea, and sky. At last did the Maker from the living world make men, immutable as the substance of the earth, with souls made of dream and idea, hope and fear, endless possibilities. Then the Maker said, "To you, my second-born, I grant this gift. In your heart shall burn an unquenchable flame, all-consuming and never satisfied. From the Fade I crafted you, and to the Fade you shall return each night in dreams, that you may always remember me." And then the Maker sealed the gates of the Golden City, and there he dwelled, waiting to see the wonders his children would create. Threnodies 5:1-8. Article 117. History of Ferelden, Chapter 1. Ferelden, as we think of it now, did not exist before the Exalted Age. Instead, the valley was divided up into dozens of old Olimari clans. They warred constantly with one another over land, honor, the allegiance of the freeholders, and, on one notable occasion, the name given to a favorite Mabari. And then, in the 33rd year of the Exalted Age, Cailan Theirin became Theirin of Denerim, and everything changed. Most of what we know about the founding of our nation comes from old songs that the bards passed down through the ages. The songs are filled with wild exaggerations and outright lies, but this hardly differs from the scholarly papers of some of my contemporaries. There is no agreement among poets or scholars on how he did it, but Cailan had gained the support of the Circle of Magi, and they crafted for him a suit of silvery white armor that, by all accounts, repelled both arrow and blade. Cailan had led his army across the valley and captured Redcliffe, one of only 3 men who ever successfully laid siege to that fortress, and presented himself to the bands of the Landsmeet as their king. The poets tell us that every lord knelt before Cailan without question. The fact that he attended the Landsmeet surrounded by ash warriors and loyal mages of the Circle is generally omitted from the ballads, however. From Cailan came the line of Theirin kings and queens who reigned uninterrupted until the 44th year of the Blessed Age, when the Orlesian invasion came. The rightful king was forced to flee Denerim, and for 70 years a puppet sat upon the throne. From Ferelden, Folklore and History, by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 118. History of Ferelden, Chapter 2. The occupation was a dark blot on Ferelden's history. Our people, who from time immemorial valued their freedom over all else, were forced to bow to Orlesian rule. The Empire declared our elves property and sold them like cattle. Chevaliers routinely plundered freeholds of coin, food, and even women and children, and excused it as taxation. And for 70 years no Landsmeet were held, for the imperial throne had declared our ancient laws a form of treason. King Brandel was one of those who escaped. He tried to organize the other fugitive lords to retake their land, but Brandel was neither clever nor persuasive, and the nobles preferred to take their chances alone. Ferelden might still be little more than a territory of the Empire were it not for the fact that his daughter had all the charisma that her royal father lacked. The rebel queen's rule began with a midnight attack on the Imperial Armory at Lothering. It was swift and successful, and with their pilfered arms the rebels began a campaign against the Orlesians in earnest. But the turning point of our war came when a young freeholder joined the Queen's army. The lad, Loghain Mac Tir, possessed a remarkable talent for strategy, and quickly became the favorite advisor of young Prince Merrick. The Queen finally died at the hands of Orlesian sympathizers anxious to curry favor with their painted masters, and Merrick took her place as the leader of the rebellion. Loghain became Merrick's right hand. Merrick and Loghain led the rebels in a new campaign against their Orlesian oppressors, culminating in the Battle of River Dane, where the last chevaliers in Denerim were crushed. With the capital once more in the hands of Fereldens, the battle to free our people was finally over, but the battle to rebuild what had been lost had only just begun. From Ferelden, Folklore and History, by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 119, Culture of Ferelden. The Fereldens are a puzzle. As a people, they are one bad day away from reverting to barbarism. They repelled invasions from Tevinter during the height of the Imperium with nothing but dogs and their own obstinate disposition. They are the coarse, willful, dirty, disorganized people who somehow gave rise to our prophet, ushered in an era of enlightenment, and toppled the greatest empire in history. There are few things you can assume safely in dealing with these people. First, they value loyalty above all things, beyond wealth, beyond power, beyond reason. Second, although they have nothing in their entire country which you are likely to think at all remarkable, they are extremely proud of their accomplishments. Third, if you insult their dogs, they are likely to declare war. And finally, the surest sign that you have underestimated the Fereldens is that you think you have come to understand them. Empress Celine I of Orlais in a letter to her newly appointed ambassador to Denerim. Article 120. Dogs in Denerim. In Ferelden, sorry. Dogs in Ferelden. Dogs in Denerim would make a great book. I am frequently asked during my travels in other lands to explain the dogs omnipresent in Ferelden. Inevitably, I tell my foreign questioners that there are no more dogs in my homeland than in their own. In every civilized corner of Thedas, an astute observer will notice dogs employed in hunting game, keeping barns and storehouses free of vermin, herding livestock, guarding homes, and even used as beasts of burdens in the mountains. It is simply that Fereldens show appreciation for the work that our dogs do, and perhaps the reason for that is tangled up in mythology. Hafter, the first man to be named Theirin, the hero who united our Alamari ancestors to drive back the Darkspawn of the Second Blight, was reputed to be the son of a werewolf. Now, perhaps this was meant to be some comment on his temperament. God, this is so difficult to read. Or simply a way of making a great man even larger than life. But more than half of the noble families of Ferelden claim to be descendants of Hafter, and consequently, many of our people believe they have some distant kinship with wolves. It is only good manners to be polite to one's kin. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar, by Brother Genitivi. Article 121. Geography of Ferelden. The Kingdom of Ferelden is the southernmost civilized nation in Thedas, although some scholars dispute that claim to civilization. It is perhaps the most physically isolated of all the kingdoms of Thedas. To the east is the Amaranthine Ocean, to the north the Waking Sea, and to the south the Korcari Wilds, which in the summer months are a vast peat bog and in the winter become a treacherous labyrinth of ice-over waterways. The Frostback Mountains guard the western border, and only a narrow plain between the mountains and the sea allows travel between Ferelden and Orlais. Most of the land in the central portion of the kingdom, called the Benorn, is open plains. These are crossed by the remnants of an ancient Tevinter highway that once connected Val Royeaux with Ostagar on the edge of the Korcari Wilds. The western part of Ferelden is dominated by Lake Calenhad, a huge caldera filled by the runoff of glaciers from nearby mountains. Lake Calenhad is home to the famed Fortress of Redcliffe, as well as the Circle Tower, which houses Ferelden's Circle of Magi. In the east is the vast Brazilian forest, which the superstitious locals profess to be haunted, and from which rises the Dragon's Peak, a solitary mountain that guards the capital city of Denerim. From In Pursuit of Knowledge, The Travels of a Chantry Scholar, by Brother Genitivi. Article 123. Politics of Ferelden. To our neighbors, Ferelden seems utterly chaotic. Unlike other monarchies, power does not descend from our throne, rather it rises from the support of the freeholders. Each freehold chooses the ban or Arl to whom it pays allegiance. Typically, this choice is based on proximity of the freehold to the lord's castle, as it's worthless to pay for the upkeep of soldiers who will arrive at your land too late to defend it. For the most part, each generation of freeholders casts its lot with the same ban as their fathers did, but things can and do change. No formal oaths are sworn, and it is not unheard of, especially in the prickly central Banorn, for bans to court freeholders away from their neighbors, a practice which inevitably begets feuds that last for ages. Tyrants who arose from amongst the bands, war leaders who, in antiquity, had grown powerful enough to move other bands to swear fealty to them. There were many Tyrants in the days before King Cailan had, but he succeeded in whittling them down to only 2. Gwarin in the south, Highever in the north. These Tyrants still hold the oaths of bands and Arls who they may call upon in the event of war or disaster. And similarly, the Tyrants still hold responsibility for defending those sworn to them. The Arls were established by the Tyrants, given command of strategic fortresses that could not be overseen by the Tyrants themselves. Unlike the Tyrants, the Arls have no bands sworn to them and are simply somewhat more prestigious bands. The king is, in essence, the most powerful of the Tyrants. Although Denerim was originally the Tirnir of the king, it has since been reduced to an Arling, as the king's domain is now all of Ferelden. But even the king's power must come from the bands. Nowhere is this more evident than during the Landsmeet, an annual council for which all of the nobles of Ferelden gather, held for almost 3,000 years except odd interruptions during blights and invasions. The sight of a king asking for and working to win the support of lesser men is a source of constant wonder to foreign ambassadors. From Ferelden, Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 126. Highever. Castle Highever has stood since the Divine Age, when it was not an independent Banorn, but merely an outpost of the growing Banorn of Amaranthine, and the days before Amaranthine became an Arling itself. The outpost of Highever was originally held by the Elstan family, cousins of the Howes. In the Age of Towers, however, Ban Conobar Elstan was murdered by his wife, Flemeth, thus ending the bloodline. Conobar's captain of the guard, Sarim Kuzland, took the lands and title. The Kuzlands declared their independence from Amaranthine, starting a war that lasted 30 years. When the dust settled, Highever was on its own and in possession of half the land that had once been southwestern Amaranthine. Highever became a Tirnir during the Black Age, when Helia Kuzland gathered the lords together under her banner to drive the werewolves out of their lands, earning herself the title of Tirna almost as an afterthought. Today, Highever is one of only 2 remaining Tirnirs, making the Kuzland family second in rank only to the king. The Kuzland family, however, was all but wiped out in an unexpected attack by Arl Howe of Amaranthine, and the fate of the Tirnir is now in question. From Ferelden, Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. How is that in that book? That just happened! Damn. Bitch moves fast. That was mean, I apologize. Sorry, Sister Petrine. Article 131. The Noble Families of Ferelden. The occupation left many castles in its wake. Whole families were butchered in the initial invasion, and all those who couldn't or wouldn't bend knee to the Emperor's puppet king were declared traitors and hunted. Many bloodlines ended on chevaliers' blades at dusty crossroads, in forest clearings or in freeholds. And then there were the turncoats. To curry favor with their new masters, some nobles took up arms against their brothers. They betrayed and murdered the rebel queen, an act that created even more vacant titles and lands once King Merrick exacted justice. That Ferelden did not fall apart after the Orlesians left it is a testament to the strength of King Merrick. The old families still held grudges against those who had sided with the Emperor, and those new families that had been granted titles were viewed as interlopers. The Landsmeet that followed Merrick's coronation were tense, to say the least. From Ferelden, Folklore and History by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 158, the Grey Wardens. The first blight had already raged for 90 years. The world was in chaos. A god had risen, twisted and corrupted. The remaining gods of Tevinter were silent, withdrawn. What writing we have recovered from those times is filled with despair, for everyone believed, from the greatest archons to the lowliest slaves, that the world was coming to an end. At Weishaupt Fortress in the desolate Underfells, a meeting transpired. Soldiers of the Imperium, seasoned veterans who had known nothing their entire lifetimes except hopeless war, came together. When they left Weishaupt, they had renounced their oaths to the Imperium. They were soldiers no longer. They were the Grey Wardens. The Wardens began an aggressive campaign against the Blight, striking back against the Darkspawn, reclaiming lands given up for lost. The Blight was far from over, but their victories brought notice, and soon they received aid from every nation in Thedas. They grew in number as well as reputation. Finally, in the year 992 of the Tevinter Imperium, upon the Silent Plains, they met the Archdemon Dumat in battle. A third of all the armies of northern Thedas were lost to the fighting, but Dumat fell and the Darkspawn fled back underground. Even that was not the end. The Imperium once revered 7 gods: Dumat, Zazakel, Toth, Andorl, Razikael, Lusican, and Arthemiel. 4 have risen as archdemons. The Grey Wardens have kept watch through the ages, well aware that peace is fleeting, and that their war continues until the last of the dragon gods is gone. From Ferelden, Folklore and History, by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. You know, every time I've read one of these, I probably said Arthemiel 1,000 different ways. I don't know. And it's going to keep changing every time I read that. Article 159, the Korcari Wilds. It is said that in the midst of the Black Age, when werewolves stalked the lands of Ferelden in numbers that kept every farmholder indoors and a hound on every doorstep, a powerful Arl of the Alamari people stood and declared that he would put an end to the threat. His Arlings stood on the border of the Dark Forest on the southern border of the Ferelden Valley, and he claimed that the werewolves used the forest to launch their midnight assaults on humanity. For 20 years, this Arl led an army of warriors and hounds deep into the forest. In his hunt for the werewolves, he slew not only every wolf he came upon, but also every member of the chastened wilder folk. Any one of them, he said, could harbor a demon inside and thus be a werewolf in disguise. For 20 years, the forest rang with screams and the rivers ran red. The tales say that an old chastened woman found her sons all dead at the Arl's blades. She pulled one of those very blades from one son's heart and plunged it into her own chest, cursing the Arl's name as she did so. Where her blood touched the ground, a mist began to rise. It spread and spread until it was everywhere in the forest. The Arl's army became lost, and it is said that they died there. Others say they wander still. The ruins of his Arlings stand to this day, filled with the ghosts of women waiting eternally for their husbands to return. The forest of the legend is, of course, the Korcari Wilds. There are as many legends about the great southern forest as there are shadows, or so the saying goes. The chastened wilder folk have made their home there since mankind first came to these lands, and the wildlands spread as far into the south as anyone has ventured. Beyond the mists are vast tracts of snow, white-capped mountains, and entire fields of ice. It is a land too cold for mankind to survive, yet the chastened eke out an existence even there, and they tell of horrors beyond the wilds that the lowland folk could not begin to comprehend. Gah. Pardon me. To most, Ferelden simply ends with the Korcari Wilds. There is nothing beyond. The wilds is a land of great trees, wet marshes, and dangerous monsters. What more need be said? From Land of the Wilders by Mother Alis, Chantry Scholar, 9E Dragon. Article 160, Darkspawn. Those who had sought to claim heaven by violence destroyed it. What was golden and pure turned black, Those who had once been mage lords, the brightest of their age, were no longer men but monsters. Threnades 12:1. Sin was the midwife that ushered the Darkspawn into the world. The Magisters fell from the Golden City, and their fate encompassed all our worlds, for they were not alone. No one knows where the Darkspawn come from. A dark mockery of men in the darkest places they thrive, growing in numbers as a plague of locusts will. In raids they will often take captives, dragging their victims alive into the deep roads, but most evidence suggests that these are eaten. Like spiders, it seems the Darkspawn prefer their food still breathing. Perhaps they are simply spawned by the darkness. Certainly we know that evil has no trouble perpetuating itself. The last blights were in the Age of Towers. The last blight was in the Age of Towers, striking once again at the heart of Tevinter, spreading south into Orlais and east into the Free Marches. The plague spread as far as Ferelden, but the withering and twisting of the land stopped well beyond our borders. Here, the Darkspawn have never been more than the stuff of legends. In the northern lands, however, particularly Tevinter and the Anderfells, they say Darkspawn haunt the hinterland, preying on outlying farmers and isolated villages. A constant threat. From Ferelden Folklore and History, by Sister Petrine, Chantry Scholar. Article 165. King Cailan Theirin. I'd hoped for a war like in the tales, a king riding with the fabled Grey Wardens against tainted god. Son of the legendary King Maric Theirin, Cailan was the first Ferelden king born into a land free from foreign rule in 2 generations. Since his father's death, he has held the throne alongside his queen Enora. Article 168. Vincent. The Mabari is clever enough to speak and wise enough to know not to. Ferelden proverb. Aedan's War Hound has a pedigree older than Highever and a penchant for driving cooks to distraction. Article 169. Duncan. Men and women from every race, warriors and mages, barbarians and kings, the Grey Wardens sacrificed everything to stem the tide of darkness, and prevailed. Like many others, Duncan gave up his family name when he joined the ranks of the Wardens, a symbolic gesture of cutting ties. He might say this was a convenience in his case, however. His mother was from the Anderfells, his father from Tevinter. His childhood was spent in the Free Marches and Orlais. His people were everywhere, and his homeland was nowhere. He was given the almost impossible task of leading the Wardens in Ferelden, a kingdom that had thrown the Order out 200 years earlier. Facing local suspicion and hostility, he set about finding recruits. Article 176. Arl Rendon Howe. It will be good to ride into battle once more, won't it, old friend? The Arling of Amaranthine winds along the sinuous northeastern coast of Ferelden. The waking sea is known for its temper, and the storms that sweep in it from the warmer northern waters are sudden and brutal. These are the lands of Rendon Howe. He was born during the occupation, and like many of the nobles at the time, joined Prince Maric's rebels. He fought alongside young Bryce Cousland, future Terran of Highever, and Leonis Bryland, future Arl of Southreach, at the bloody Battle of White River. It was the most catastrophic defeat of the entire occupation, from which only 50 rebel soldiers escaped alive. Although he was decorated for valor by King Maric, Howe's abrasive manners have earned him almost universal dislike among his peers. When Bryce sent his men to support the king at Ostagar, Howe took it as an opportunity to attack Highever, slaughtering the people there and claiming the lands and title as his own. Of all the inhabitants of Castle Cousland, only Aedan survived. Article 180. Loghain Mac Tir. It takes more than legends to win a battle. Loghain was born a farmer during a time when his country was under foreign occupation. When he was still a boy, he joined the Resistance, where his considerable tactical genius quickly became apparent. He became close friends with Prince Maric, the last true heir to the Ferelden throne, and together they led the rebels to drive out the forces of the Orlesian Empire. Merrick raised his friend to the nobility, and Loghain is now more of a symbol than a man. He represents the Ferelden ideals of hard work and independence. And that is that for this origin, the human noble origin. I hope to see you next time with whatever comes after this. Until then, bye-bye.